Almost unfair, right? Well, many good golfers can make bunker play look so easy. What's their secret? That's what we're going to try to find out in this episode of Golf Talk with Dormy. So our expert Alex Wrigley has just joined me after hitting a really nice shot out of the bunker. I'm sure you're happy with that one.
It was a nice strike, out, nice flight out the soft sand. I'm pretty pleased.
What do you want to see on a bunker shot?
I want to see something that doesn't have too much spin or too much rollout, something that spins a little and then releases out to the hole. High and soft always looks nice and feels nice when you hit those shots.
Sounds easy. Let's start with the club. What do you look for in the bunker club?
I try and have something around mid-bounce, 8-10 degrees, something like that, with quite a lot of loft. Anywhere between 56 and 60 degrees can work. Personally, I favour a 60 degree, but that doesn't mean it's right for everyone. 56 and 58 will work just fine as well. We want some loft on the club so that we can get this out of the bunker quite easily, especially if you're in a bunker that's a bit deeper or got a higher lip.
You just mentioned the bounce. How important is that?
I would say that the bounce in the bunker it's extremely important so that the club doesn't dig into the sand. Different to the turf, because turf is a little firmer than the sand. Today we've got a bunker which is quite fluffy, powdery sand. So if I was to use a low bounce wedge in this bunker, I'm going to find it really difficult to get consistent contact and therefore consistent spin and distance. So in this sand today, a high bounce or a mid bounce will work nicely. Generally speaking, because I travel a lot and play different courses, I just stick with the mid bounce because then it suits slightly firmer and fluffier sand.
You made the shot look really easy. Let us know the secret.
Let's get in the bunker and find out.
Good idea. All right, you were talking about the secret about bunker play. Where do we start?
I think the first thing that you have to look at is the lie. And here we have a nice lie, so we're going to talk about how we would set up for this nice lie and then maybe touch on a couple of worse lies later. So this one here, I like to actually set up to the ball just in my normal setup on a full shot to start with. So this gives me a baseline to then change things from, just so I don't over exaggerate one of the things I might change in the bunker technique. So I'm going to start just taking my normal setup here, just like I would for a full 60 shot. And then from here, I'm going to make a few adjustments. So the first adjustment, I'm going to move the ball slightly forward, a little more in line with my heart. That's going to make it easier for me to contact the sand first. Then I'm going to do three things. I'm going to open the face slightly, I'm going to stand a little further away, and I'm going to lower my hands. When I open the club face, you can see that the face starts to point a little to the right. That's going to make the ball come off to the right. So I must lower my hands to get the face pointing back straight. After I've done that, I'm going to have a little more weight on my left side than I would normally. I don't want my weight to be shifting around too much because the contact with the sand is super important to get it precise. From this position here, I'm going to then take a couple of practice swings. Now we are just practicing here, we can't do this obviously when we're playing, but in my practice swings what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lightly brush the sand. And I'm going to start to get a feeling of how far that club is away from the sand. This is a really important skill to start being very consistent out of the bunkers. When I take my setup to the ball, I'm going to think about this contact on the sand, and then I'm going to do the last thing, which is just wiggle my feet in. Now that does three things. One of them, which everyone knows about, it keeps you a bit more stable. The sand can be a bit slippery under the feet. Number two, it lowers me to the level of the ball, again making it easier to contact the sand first. And number three, it gives me a feeling of what's underneath the ball. Now it might not be exactly the same where I'm standing to where the ball is, but it gives me a feeling of how compact it is if there's a lot of sand underneath.
Just a question. earlier in the, I mean, a few years ago,
Yes.
people were talking about opening up the stands.
Exactly.
And maybe splash the ball out of the sand.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, that will get the ball out, definitely. But what's going to happen is if you open the stance up and you open the face up and you hit down into the sand hard, when you take a lot of sand, it's taking away a lot of ball speed. So for a short shot like this, I'd almost have to make a full swing. Hitting across the ball instead of hitting onto the ball directly is also going to take some ball speed off. So I want to be able to use this technique to play 30 and 40 meter shots too. And if I use that old technique, I'm going to have to change the full bunker technique to then get that distance back. So I want this to be quite a soft tempo, maybe a half or 3/4 swing, but I don't want to be swinging too aggressively at the ball.
Show me.
Okay, let's try. So we've got that really soft strike on the sand. Come out a little bit short, but the contact was nice. And you can see my practice swings, I took a tiny piece of sand. I tried to do exactly the same thing on this shot, but the way that the bounce is going to interact and the leading edge, I'm going to take more sand. You don't have to try and dig that club in, because when the ball's there, it's going to dig in even more, and that thing might not have even reached the green.
Talking about digging, that's a problem for a lot of people.
Yes.
How do you avoid that?
In the swing technique, what we're going to try and feel is we're going to just try and feel like we're a bit wider on the backswing and wider through the ball. If we do get too narrow and the hands get in front, it's very difficult not to dig.
Good. So, that was a standard bunker shot.
It was, yes.
Do you want to go somewhere else?
We can do a worse lie from here. Oh. So, here we have a ball which is maybe a quarter, 3/4 plugged. And I'm going to take the same principle at the start of this. I'm going to set up as I would normally. But now, I don't want the bounce to be as active as it was before. I need the club to dig into the sand slightly to get underneath the ball. But I'm still going to try not to hit down too much. I'm going to use the club naturally. You see, if I put the club on the ground square and I drag it through the sand, it automatically digs into the sand. So I'm going to try and use the sharpness of the leading edge here and not change too much in that setup I've just done. The only adjustment is I won't open the face quite as much. I might have the face a little more square. From here, I'm going to take a couple of practice swings again. I'm trying to imagine where the bottom of that ball is. So let's say the bottom of the ball is 1 centimetre into the sand. I'm then going to try and take just under that. You can see here that was a bit more than the practice swings earlier. I'm then going to step into the shot. I'm going to lose a little bit of ball speed here because the ball is sat down and I'm taking more sand. So I'm going to swing a little harder, but still not very aggressive. And you can see naturally, I didn't try to dig into the sand. Much different divot in the sand there, just because I had the club set up a little different.
And it came out a bit lower?
It came out lower.
With rolling it more?
Much less spin, because the golf ball is much further away from the club face when I make contact. So we don't really get any interaction with the club at all. It's just the sand that propels the ball forwards.
So if you're playing a tough links course then,
yes.
With steep walls, how do you hit a really high bunker shot?
Okay, so we're going to again I'm going to give myself a decent lie, if that's okay. And we're going to again do everything the same as we did before with the first setup. So we have a nice lie. I don't have to worry about digging the club in. I want the club to brush off the sand, but I'm going to just take it a little further on this one with the setup. I stand a little further away. Now I'm going to open the club face up a little more. And then from here, what I want is, I still want this wide swing, but coming through the ball, I want to release my wrists, which is going to keep more loft on the club. Hopefully this one comes out a little higher and gets over that lip on the links bunker.
Oh, nice.
And that one comes a little more spin on that one. but also because it's coming down at a steeper land angle, it stops a bit quicker.
Good. Ready for a final challenge?
Yes.
You said something about plugged line
All
before.
right, okay. Oh, okay.
That's more like it.
Yeah, this is plugged. This is plugged.
Yeah.
So do you want an open face or a square face? What do you want here?
I want the ball up on the green.
You want the ball up on the green. Okay. It's quite plugged, this one. We can obviously see just the top of the ball here. Again, I'm going to use the same principles that I used on the slightly plugged shot. Now, I'm going to have to try and get underneath the ball here. So the ball's probably 3 centimeters down in the sand. So again, if I just take a practice swing, I might even close the face in a little, just so the edge gets really sharp. From here, I'm going to, try and pretend to take about 3 centimeters of sand, and then we're going to give it a go on the ball. I probably have to swing a bit harder than that one though.
Yeah.
So I'm going to increase the speed here.
And you don't have a lot of green to work with.
I don't have much green. We'll see what happens. Oh, just stayed in. I got to hit it harder next time.
But you know what? You get another interesting lie.
Yeah, now I got an uphill lie plugged. Perfect.
Yeah. All right, that's the secret about bunker play. If you want to do a short summary, what 3 key points do you want us to take away?
I think the most important thing here is getting the setup built correctly. If you get the setup correct, then it becomes a lot easier out the bunker. The number one thing we did was we analysed the lie. You have to decide if the lie is sat down or sat really nicely. Is there a lot of sand? Is there not too much sand? And then thirdly, don't take as much sand as you think. Usually just brushing the top of the sand, if you get good at that, we can start to not only get the ball out, but control distance in the bunker too.
I'm ready. I hope you are as well. Go out and try some of Alex's ideas. And thank you for watching this episode of Golf Talk with Dormy.